Hey everybody, welcome to yet another broadcast of our video series for IT pros on Skype for Business. Today we're covering my did I say favorite? Topic, the Mac. And I believe this show, by the way, number is 32, right? Yeah, so it's 32, that's amazing. Joining me today, I'm Paul Cannon, by the way. I'm a senior product marketing manager for the Skype for Business team. I currently look after clients, things like the Windows client, the Mac client. I work with our VDI partners and have other areas I cover as well. Joining me today is the brains behind the operation. I brought over is Cam Fu Ah. See, I got it in the right order. Yes. I've been teasing Cam lately that I keep rotating his name around in different order, and he's not appreciating that as much. So, Cam, could you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Cam Fu Ah. I'm one of the engineering manager on the Skype for Business on Mac. And I've worked on multiple different Skype for Business client projects. And Mac is the latest project, and it has been a fun project.
That's awesome. And is it, I don't know if it's the right way to think of you as a release manager. Is that sort of one of your duties? Because it feels like you joined the team at a certain point and you're sorry, I'm going to steal the American analogy. I apologize to our international customers, but the analogy of the fullback, the guy who gets the ball on the, somewhere on the 20-yard line, and he just drives the ball forward right into the end zone so we can get that thing out the door.
Yeah, there's two roles that I play. One is the release manager and also the end-to-end scenario validation, where when all the software is getting into shape where it's in a working order, and we plug it into the whole Skype for Business ecosystem.
Right.
Make sure it works end to end, and make sure every issue get addressed and meet the quality that we expect Skype for Business to meet, and that's primarily my job.
That sounds like a pretty serious and important role for us to get our product out the door. So that's great, Cam. I really appreciate that. So. Okay, so now you know who I am, you know who Cam is. Let's talk a little bit about what we're going to cover today. So today on the video broadcast, we're going to talk about the Mac client, obviously. That's why we've got Cam here. He will keep me honest. We just have a small handful of slides to help guide us through this conversation. And we just want to kind of introduce you to, again, the basics of it, what I call, and by the way, I'm responsible for any and all words on the slides, so blame me, not Cam, for those slides. And basically, we want to talk about IT Pro 101 here, and then we're going to go into what happened, because recently, if you've been paying attention, we had the November update. Yay! Update! So awesome. And then we have news about the future, and we thought you'd like to hear all that. And if time permits, I have asked Cam to go ahead and demo for us at the end a couple of the features so that we can kind of get a feeling for what's coming. So I hope that works for you. There's a Q&A feature out there. So a couple of notes for those who are longtime viewers of our podcast. Typically, we do a pulse and a Q&A. Today, I'll be honest, our pulse manager is standing on the side of the freeway waiting for AAA to pick him up, and we are a little short on bodies, so we decided to not do the pulse today. You guys probably had enough times of being asked, what kind of server do you have installed in your company anyways, like we like to ask you every single time. And today, we'll only have the Q&A, so go ahead and ask those questions. And then either Jamie Stark, who's helping us produce this, or even our friend Jennifer Carlson. She's back in Europe, and she is working on the Mac project as well. She'll also help answer your questions. Okay, so with that, let's jump into IT Pro and talk a little bit about the basics here. This is really designed for those who have this maybe your first time you're running into the Mac, or maybe you've only installed it on a few of your technical colleagues' desktops and you haven't done a wide rollout yet. So maybe we can talk about a little bit about the version of the OS needed on the Mac, and then what are the platforms supported.
So unlike Link for Mac, which is the older version, in SfB on Mac, we support two operating systems, OS X El Capitan and Sierra. And the Sierra is the latest version, of course, and a lot of people have chosen upgrade to that, and we're seeing I think about 50-50 spread of using the user on El Capitan and Sierra.
Oh,
so
okay.
So Sierra obviously is the latest one. It comes default in all the new Mac nowadays. Okay. So and back end, we do support the Office 365 SfB Server 2015, and Link Server 2013. Both of them on the on-premise server will require the CU4. Well, I would say the November update.
Right.
That would be the proper
way.
Proper way you find that in the download center.
Okay.
So those are the platform that we support.
Great. Yep. So what's important to note, and I want to be very direct because, I admit I'm in marketing. My job is to help you appreciate the product and hopefully contact our local seller and ask to buy it. But you should also understand what we're not saying and what we're not listing on the slide. So for Link 2010 server customers, we are not currently supporting that, and there's no current plans to make that available. If you're on Link 2010, our recommendation is to go ahead and use the Link for Mac 2011 client. Okay, so that, just want to be very direct and transparent about that. That's my typical way, and the typical way of our broadcast here is to be very straight with you about what is supported and what is not. So the other thing I think, Cam, that's really interesting is understanding the update cadence and what that means, and also kind of related to the update cadence is what if I really want to get on the newer stuff? So
yeah, so for the brand new user, they would typically download it from two places: Microsoft Download Center, and also you have an Office subscription. You can go to Office 365, the portal, the admin portal, and there's a way to download it for the Mac client from there as well.
Right.
So, and once you have that, then you're going to be on the Microsoft application update, auto update, what we call MAU. This is a mechanism that Mac Office has put together where we can easily publish update of the client software out there. So the cadence we've been following is on the monthly cadence.
Right.
So whenever we publish update, you automatically able to get it. You get either a notification, or if you choose, you can check automatic. Once the update there, it actually install in the background. You restart the client, and you get it. So
that's great.
Yeah, those actually is a lot faster than compared to Windows, because Windows there's a lot more the Office Windows are a lot more sophisticated, whereas the MAU is actually very straightforward to able to reach a lot of users very quickly.
What I think is great about it too, Cam, is that the fact that we have snapped to the overall Microsoft process for Office on the Mac, in the sense that all the updates come through that same channel, whether it's PowerPoint, Word, Excel, and now Skype for Business on Mac. They're all doing it the same way,
yes,
which makes it easier. Users are already used to getting, if they have Office, they're used to getting it that way, and they'll now get Skype for Business the same way.
Yes.
But there's something else in there, isn't there?
Yeah, so there is something else in there where we also take advantage of the Office Insider program, where you can go into the MAU dialog box and choose to join the Office Insider program. And this is open for everyone. When you bring up that dialog box, you will see a checkbox in there to say, do you want to join the Insider program? And within the program, there is an Insider Fast and Insider Slow, where you can actually get a sneak peek of what's coming up in the next monthly update. And this is something that you can check and uncheck. You can choose to join the Insider program. You uncheck, you're back to what we call the production version, which is what what we officially supported version. So you can switch back and forth among the three channels: production, Insider Fast, Insider Slow, very easily.
Oh, that's awesome. So really what you're saying is people can jump on that fast ring and have the excitement of seeing features early, and then maybe it's a little too exciting at times, because that's part of the thing about being an Insider program. You have to understand that you're one of the first people. Really, the way Cam sets this thing up is that the first people who get it are Microsoft employees, and they're the ones who are dog fooding it. And then after that, it begins to slide out in these rings. And so if it gets too exciting, you can just fall back to a more, what we call the production one, which has had several weeks of people testing and fixes going into that before it gets released widely. So yeah, that's great, Cam. I think that's really good news. I know that people really will appreciate that cadence we have of a regular update to the client. So, okay, so that kind of handles the text on the left side of the slide. Now we got a pretty exciting complicated diagram on the right. We don't have to go through the entire diagram on the right, but really what we need to do is just talk about a couple of things on there so that you guys understand a little bit more about how the client is configured. And maybe for a couple of you, maybe kind of a good surprise is buried in this news as well.
Yeah, so unlike the Windows and the OMAC client, where what we call a SIP endpoint, where all the application logic reside on the client machine itself.
Right, like the Windows client. Right?
Yeah, as a Windows client. So where it has like a 50 Mac client running on your local machine that handles everything. Right. The Mac is actually based on the same architecture that the mobile and the web client is based on. So there's a big server component behind the scene called UCVA that handles a lot of the application logic, where you can see there's a HTTP front end that handles a lot of the application logic. It hosts a lot of that stuff so that it takes the load off the client and maintain it on the server side. And we were able, by using this architecture, we were able to take advantage of a lot of the application logic that's already there and really focus on the development on the user experience side, not having to deal with too much on the application logic. So we were able to quickly add feature quickly, able to make changes very quickly without having us to make a lot of massive changes on the client side. And the server take care of all of that stuff for us. Right. And there are a few things that will be interesting to call out. Where this HTTP front end you can think about is your client in the cloud, where it runs a lot of the maintenance of the client state, so that you don't have to, especially when your application is in the background, when you're not doing a whole lot, the server take care of a lot of that logic for you. You don't have to. There's no, every time something changes, you don't get all the changes at the same time. It'll get batched up on the server side waiting for you, and they just send out what has changed. So it reduces the traffic between the client and the server when your application is in the background.
So I don't want to date myself, but this is almost like a form of classic N-tier architecture, right? I mean, this is really what I'm hearing. So that's pretty exciting, actually.
Yeah, this is more going towards the modern services architecture, where a lot more application logic reside on the back end rather than on the client itself. More like a little bit like the mobile, right? Where the mobile application is a lot more smaller and a lot of the logics and everything is running on the back end.
So you stole my thunder, because I was just about to ask you about that. The thing that excites me about this architecture too is the leverage and scale capabilities. And what I mean by leverage and scale is, I think you've just described some of the scaling, like the efficiency of the network, but the leverage is that what we're really saying is this client behaves a lot like the Android client and like the iOS client. And it means that once we have an improvement in one area, it's a good chance that we'll be able to replicate those improvements across those other client formats, right?
And we were able to follow the cadence where we can add features a lot faster compared to a Windows client.
That's great. That's really an exciting architecture, and I think you'll see that in play. So if we could take a look at the next slide, that would be great. Okay, so we've covered a little bit. That was IT Pro 101, just real quick. Well, let's talk a little bit about what just happened just a few days ago. So what did happen a few days ago, Cam?
So a few days ago, right before the US Thanksgiving holiday.
American Turkey Day, for some of you.
So we push out our very first update after the
3 weeks, right?
Yes.
That's amazing. We did it in 3 weeks.
Yes.
We should be excited about it, and hopefully customers are excited about that too.
Yeah, so we make a few changes around the contact management area. Right. One is we introduce in the capability of able to create groups, rename and delete groups, and that's one of the key things that the user want to do, able to do more contact management on the Mac client. So we're able to do that, and we also introduce a very handy feature that exists in the Windows client, where you can tag somebody, where when their presence changed to available, you get the notification.
This is the way to know when your boss is online, and you can instantly IM him. So
we call it
the let your boss know you're already working when they show up to work moment. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, and also obviously a lot of bug fixes, stability improvement that were made in the meetings and chat area.
Yeah. So that's great.
Yeah. There's Also, one thing that we've changed in the Windows, what we call the single Windows mode. When we first did our first release, there was the single Windows mode was a bit confusing for the customers. There's like, hey, I need this policy, that policy to enable to get to a single Windows mode. And in November, we attempted to simplify the model.
Right.
And that created some new issues that and that took away single Windows mode from some users, depending on where their policy and how their backend is being set up.
Right.
We're going to make some changes to that in the future.
Coming up.
Up.
So the good news is, I think, let me say the good news is, right, we took away something because we wanted to solve for the major problem of people getting certain scenarios, customers are getting errors, in fact, a lot, so we wanted to cure that. Many of you signaled that the cure was worse than the original symptom, and we got that message as well. And so we have some great news coming up, and we'll cover that off in just a moment.
Yeah, in just a moment. So just a little bit of background on this, the changes that we made, the improvement that we made for the chat and single Windows mode. We'll attempt. So in this November update, you should see very few message not delivered error by the people who try to send you the message.
Right.
And during that process, we changed the behavior of the single Windows mode, and that's where we took away the single Windows mode to attempt to improve the IM reliability, what we call the message delivery reliability. We did do that, and that was one of the trigger where we took away the single Windows mode for users who didn't have conversation history, because we really don't want people to miss their message.
Yeah, that's pretty important.
Yeah, that's where we make that changes, and we're going to continue to improve on that. We heard the feedback. We're going to improve both the chat reliability and also the user experience.
Yeah, that's great. So this probably is the most controversial part of us planning for this session was how to talk about this. So what we're saying is that the release you have today has this limitation in how single window mode operates or is available to you. But coming up, we will talk about what's coming in the future, so you'll understand the changes. And again, this applies to where we talked about how fast we can move now, updating the client. So if we could hop over to the next slide, that'd be great. Sorry, poor Jamie is sitting off camera, and we're making him do all these little scuttlebutt things. I apologize, Jamie, but there is one other topic I wanted to cover. This is especially, I think, of interest to places that are very concerned about, in general, 911 and how it works today on the Mac client. So I don't know if I need to set it up, or should I just turn it over to you to talk a little bit about this, Cam? Or?
Yeah, so 911 is, in American terms, this is emergency calling.
Yeah.
So there is two types of, the emergency calling is where there's 3 digits you dial and you were able to connect to emergency operator. And this is something that is very basic, that we expect it to work for all situations. E911 is the enhanced 911 call, where when you make a call, you would able to, your location is automatically provided to the emergency operator, so that they know where you are and how they would respond to if any emergency situation you have. So in the first release, with the November update for the SfB server 2015 and the November update for the Link server 2015, we have made the emergency calling, the 3-digit dialing, available to all the users. And great. This is also with the November update of the Mac client as well. So if you take a look at the first column under 3 digits calling, if you have all the November update, you should be able to make 3 digits call.
That's great, because at least 3 or 4 of you pinged me via the blogs and also on Tech Community about this specific item. So I just want to remind you, we have now enabled it for everyone, given that you are on the latest updates across both the platform and the Mac client as well.
Yeah. So now E911 needed some more update. So E911 is actually available right now for the user who are on SfB server 2015 with the November update. We're still working on the Link server 2013. So that's something that's in the upcoming update that we're working on right now. That will be available soon. There is one type of configuration that we have not, that we are still working on, is where customer with the ADFS. Basically, you have your Active Directory Federation that either you are in a hybrid topology or you have other federation. This is something that is also this support will be added in the upcoming update as well.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's great. I mean, we're very straightforward here, and we want to explain to you again how these all work. So it's important to take away, and the most important takeaway is that if you pick up the update, the latest update for your platform, whether it's Skype for Business Server 2015 or Link Server 2013, by the end of the year, the latest update, we will be enabling all of these items for you. So that's the great news here. And so again, we're responding and moving as fast as we can to make sure that we have all these items up and available for you. That's great, Cam. Okay, so if we can, and you know, I bet I can actually even drive the slide. It would be nice if I didn't make my coworker do that. Maybe I could actually click one button. So we'll see if we can make that work or not. So now I want to talk a little bit about Mac Futures with Cam. And what we want to share is a little bit of early insight into what's coming in. Yes, I said December update. What does that mean? Again, I'm going to pound this like a rock against the side of your head, which is this, that we are committed to fast updates to the client to get the right features in at the right time for you to use. So this is not your mama's Microsoft, right? We are moving very, very fast to make sure that we have the right things in there for you. So Cam, maybe you can talk a little bit about, and you can see as we go on, we're able to begin to even stack more items into these updates as time permits. So Cam, maybe you can talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, so there's three major things that we're doing in December.
They are
so
major.
Yeah, so we have a
So
lot of
excited.
people who requested. It's like, hey, what's my screen sharing in one-to-one call, right?
Oh my gosh.
So,
If you've been reading the blog that I launched on October 27th about it, you know that every other entry on that blog I've been going, yes, screen sharing, very important. I can guarantee you that I talk about this every day to engineers like Cam and say, hey, when are we going to get peer screen sharing? And when I suggested that some of you might consider using Meet Now, I also got the feedback, which made me a little nervous, but I got the feedback that was not a good option to you, and that you really needed this there. So that's great news, Cam.
yeah, this is where it's in active testing right now, and you should be able to see it if you're in the Insider program.
The Insider program you just talked about.
Yes,
That's
yes.
right.
So,
Okay.
there's one more thing that we're adding. The second item is called what we call VBSS, video-based screen sharing, and this is something that has been available for the SfB Windows client for a while.
Actually, the entire infrastructure really is moving towards supporting it, I think.
Yes,
right?
So what it is you should be able to, the thing that we've seen today is when you share like a live motion video, things becomes very blocky. You're gonna see things that it show up like here's one block, if few seconds later refresh the other block.
Yeah.
Video-based screen sharing allows you to present a very professional level presentation that involve live motion, and you'll be able to see a smooth rendering of that when you are participating in meetings where other people are showing those type of content to you.
That's right.
Yeah, this is VBSS viewing.
Yeah. And in fact, Cam, that came in, I remember marketing that feature in September 2015 when we launched the Office 2016 client. And I will categorically say that one of the best things Microsoft can do to make your meetings in Skype for Business better is enabling this feature across all platforms. Now, in this case, we are saying viewing at this time, which means when you share from your Mac, you'll still gracefully drop back to RDS and share that way. But what you're actually will see more and more is that VBSS will be our standard across all these platforms. I know my colleague Praveen Malu, picking on you, Praveen, if you're watching, you've launched it on the mobile platforms as well. So now we have VBSS viewing there so that's great, and essentially we're moving toward that way, and so that's just something you should be aware of. If you need to learn more about it and its performance characteristics and all that, we've written a lot about that, and there's great stuff on TechNet which talks about the efficiencies it brings. For instance, it's better in low bandwidth situations, and at the same bandwidth it actually can deliver more frames than our older technologies. So both stories are great.
Yep. And the last one, which is the single Windows mode, now we're going to make it available also for the Link 2013 users.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So that is fabulous.
Yeah. What we've done is we we went back and forth on some of the design and also the feature, the balance of the design and the feature. So we actually make it very simple that it no longer require, in this December update, it will no longer require server-side conversation history to get single window mode. So it will just depend on one policy, which is if you enable auto IM archiving, if you have that client policy, you should be able to get single windows mode. So just one policy, no more. Do I need server-side conversation? Do I need this backend or all that? Just one policy.
Tuesday and is it in the afternoon? Yeah, we have really worked on making this. And again, I know it sounds like I'm tuning my own horn, so let me instead toot my own horn, the Microsoft horn. And the Microsoft horn here is that we are changing with speed. We've made a change in the last update for single window mode, as we talked about, and we got a lot of feedback, as we talked about already. Cam's mentioned that. And we went ahead in this very next update, we've again made an adjustment. And part of that is the benefit of this services architecture design, the way we have the client and the infrastructure split out that we talked about, makes it a lot easier for some of these visual updates, especially, to be done. So kudos to you guys and the team for that. Thank you very much. I mean, I think a lot of our customers hopefully are jumping up and down and happy, or at least the IT pros out there are jumping up and down and happy because they're tired of hearing from their first set of Mac users about this, I'm sure, right? Okay, so we've got a long list of general improvements, and I just want to be careful and say that we don't have time, unless you guys all want to sit around for a couple hours. We could go through each one, and Cam could dissect them with a scalpel, but we'll just pick a couple maybe out of this list, Cam, and or whatever your favorites are, and talk about them and why they're important or how they impact customers.
This is one of the things that we have tried to do is there are things that these are the existing feature that we will continue want to improve the stability and also the quality. One of the things that we have all seen that IM notification, we'll pick on that one a bit, where we've seen customer feedback say, hey, I'm not consistently seeing the alert and the tolls that show up on my screen. And we did some digging, and we found a few places where we can improve the reliability. Now that, hey, it doesn't matter whether your app is in the foreground and background, we would show the notification in a much more reliable manner.
And the feedback I've heard is about IM notifications not going away.
Yes, the IM notification is not going away. We're trying to choose a balance between that to say that, hey, do I want, some folks will say, I don't want to miss everything. And some people may say, hey, I want to make sure that I really want to my badge, what we call the badge on the taskbar. You see the Skype for Business badge and the number increment. We're trying to be careful about choosing how we show it. To say it's a sliding scale, because sometimes the number is visible that, hey, you have some new things, but sometimes people want to say, I want to keep it right at the alerts so that I can respond to it at appropriate time. So we're trying to choose a balance between those, because a lot of the Mac users, they do use MacBook, and they don't have a lot of screen real estate, as we say. So they were trying to balance that.
Yeah. Okay, that totally makes sense. Yeah. Is there anything else on that list that particularly you like to talk about?
One of the things is in the group management. I don't know if you guys realize this is the ability that to search for a distribution list. So now you should be able to, hey, if you have a group of colleagues that you have an email or distribution list, you should be able to search them and able to add them into as part of your contact list. And that's something that we've seen customer wanted to say, hey, I don't want to recreate a group. I just want to use my existing distribution list. So we've added that one.
That's great. Yeah. So as you can see, again, not only are we adding new features, but we're also improving the overall performance of the client and getting things right. And in some cases, we're not fixing bugs. We're actually tweaking the user experience based on real-time feedback from you, that sliding scale we just talked about. So I think that's fabulous as well. I think for respect time, what we'll do is we'll just have to say that demo for another day, Cam. I know you wanted to show the client really badly, but we'll skip out of that.
Yep.
And instead, I'm going to go ahead and close out. And we've got a couple of topics. So I just want to remind you of a few things. One, the Skype for Business Mac client is generally available as of October 27th, and you could have downloaded it starting that day. So don't forget that. And when someone says, oh, they're still doing preview, I still hear that from some customers and even some slow Microsoft salespeople. It's out there, it's available. Take that client, get it out there, and start having your customers use it. The experience is so much better, 99 times out of 100 for users, that there's no reason not to start trying to deploy that client out there. The next thing I want you to know is that you can count the days. I don't think I got the date right. Actually, I think it was the 23rd or 22nd. I made
22nd.
Oh my God, I made a mistake. So that means we got it out one day earlier. Under promise, over deliver, right? So that means that in the space of about a little bit over 3 weeks, we managed to put out the first update and help you guys with bringing better stability to the client and also features. The December update is on its way, which is exciting as well to me, because that means we're landing one of the most asked for features in the last 6 weeks, which has been around peer-to-peer screen sharing. So that's great news. I know that there will be other things you guys are asking about. So we did not go into a longer-term roadmap yet, but I'm hoping that when time permits, it's a very popular broadcast here, and we have a lot of topics that get on, but when time permits, we'll come back and talk a little bit about covering off on what's coming in the future. But as we have monthly updates, you just need to pay attention to the Microsoft technical community. I post out there, as well as Cam and other engineers, and it's great, and it's a great way to feel and hear about what's coming. So a couple other topics as we're closing out. I want to thank you for coming. Really appreciate your time. I know you have choices here about where you spend your time, and you've spent it with us. Thank you very much. I just want to remind everyone that also on the mobile platform, iOS CallKit integration dropped recently, and there was a blog about it. So check the Office blogs on that. That's pretty important. That really changes the way a lot the actual Skype for Business on the phones operate. So suggest you look at that, understand that, and appreciate and utilize those improvements. Also coming up, hello, France, are you there? Anyone there? France is now getting PSTN calling. This is a really exciting moment for us. Woo! And let me tell you, sometimes I feel like every French customer has personally called more than one of us to let us know that they wanted PSTN calling. So here it is. I hope you guys jump on right on it and start using it. And in fact, we're going to talk about PSTN calling in general and probably mention France once or twice in that. That's coming up on December 15th, so I hope you chime in for that. I think that will be Delonda Coleman. I don't know if I guess she's been on camera once already, so you guys should know her. And she looks, just as I look after the clients, she looks after PSTN calling. So with that, I hope you guys all have a great holiday, no matter where you're at in the world. I hope you enjoy your time off. I know that I will enjoy some time off here, and then January, we're back in the thick of it. Although, honestly, hopefully before then, you'll get a December update from the Mac. I also want to take a moment to thank Cam. Cam, thank you very much, buddy. Really appreciate you having here to keep me honest and not let me just run off course on a marketing moment.
I appreciate that the time to able to talk about some of the things that we're doing.
Yeah, you guys are really, I know you guys toil so much behind the scenes. It's so great that you have a chance to get out there and take a little bit of kudos. And so we really appreciate it. With that, we'll close out. Thanks, everyone.